This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there, Chef Kirk. I don't welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, September the 17th, is an NBA coach that is a legend. He used to play in the NBA too. He played 12 years in the NBA as a power forward. He became coach of the Bulls in 1989, leading them to 6 NBA titles, and then with the Lakers in 2 small stints. He led them to 5 titles under his leadership. His 11 NBA titles surpassed the legend set by Red Auerbach. He is known for his use of Tex Winter's triangle offense, as well as a holistic approach to coaching set by Eastern philosophy, making him the Zen master. And he would actually apply Native American spiritual practices as well. He was inducted to the Hall of Fame in 2007. After leaving 2011, as coaching, he went to be the next executive in 2014 and was dismissed as team president June 2017. He is Phil Jackson. Yes, that's Phil Jackson. He's 77 years old today. He was born in Montana. Both of his parents were Assemblies of God ministers. His father preached on Sunday mornings and his mother on Sunday evenings. So they were in a remote area of Montana where dancing and TV were banned. He thought he was going to be a minister. He was in high school in North Dakota. Anyway, there's some baseball scouts and basketball scouts too. He was recruited to the University of North Dakota playing basketball. That was when North Dakota was in Division II. They would lose to Southern Illinois a couple of times. And ironically, Phil Jackson's future next teammate, Walt Frazier, was the big guy for Southern Illinois. In 1967, the Knicks went into the draft trying to make some players. There were only 19 players drafted that year. Well, no, the first few rounds were 19 picks. Phil Jackson went 17th to North Dakota. The Knicks picked Clyde Frazier 5th overall. So Frazier and Phil Jackson were in the same draft class. All that. There weren't too many good players and all that. Although the Knicks would take Mike Riordan. All that. So anyway, Phil Jackson was a good old athlete. He was actually limited offensively despite his unusually long arms. But he worked hard on defense. He was one of the best 6 men, aka one of the best substitutes. He would not take part in the 1970 Knicks championship campaign because of spinal fusion surgery. He was one of the top reserves for the Knicks in 1973 when they won the title for the second time. Jackson could get into the starting lineup now that with several key starters retiring. He could do it. So anyway, he even played a couple years for the New Jersey Nets. It's like, what the hell, man? You play for the Knicks, but then you go to the Nets? Anyway, Jackson would coach in the Continental Basketball Association and the Puerto Rico Basketball Association. He did give Albany the Continental Championship in 1984. He wanted to come back to the NBA to coach. And Jackson had a reputation for being sympathetic to the counterculture, where he was scared of potential NBA employers. However, the Bulls came calling and gave him an assistant coach job under Doug Collins. In 1989, he was promoted to head coach. And when he saw Tex Winter, he made him an assistant and was a devotee of the triangle offense. So they did that. In 9 seasons of the triangle offense, the Bulls won 6 titles. which was pretty good. So anyway, the Bulls had 2 three-peats. In fact, that was the first time a team had won 3 straight titles since the Celtics dynasty of the 60s. Jackson and the Bulls made the playoffs every year. All that. Unfortunately, there would be a lot of problems. Jackson would have troubles with Jerry Krause, the Bulls general manager. And Krause felt under-recognized for building a championship team and said that Jackson is indebted to him for giving him his first coaching job. So anyway, Jackson was signed for the 98 season only. And Krause said that he emphasized that Jackson would not be rehired even if the Bulls won the 98 title. Krause's bitterness really ruined things and all that. So the Bulls won the 98 title, and guess what? Jackson decided left. But then the Lakers wanted him to be coach. So he did. He produced results quickly. In his first full season with the Lakers, they won 67 games, winning the NBA title against the Pacers for the 2000 season. He had Shaq and Kobe, who were a talented duo. They had Glenn Rice, Derek Fisher, Rick Fox, Devin George, A.C. Green, Robert Horry, and Brian Shaw. With Ron Harper, Horace Grant, John Sally later on. With that happening, the Lakers three-peated, winning the 2000, 2001, and 2002 titles. Unfortunately, the team faltered because of injuries, weak bench play, and public tension between Kobe and Shaq. Jackson would clash frequently with Kobe. Bryant was efficient in the triangle offense, but he called it boring and all that. Anyway, there were rumors that the Zen Master, a.k.a. Phil Jackson, wanted Kobe gone, but Lakers manager said, The Lakers got Karl Malone and Gary Payton to try to get a title for them. Unfortunately, the Lakers had problems. Bryant's trial for sexual assault, which thankfully saw Kobe being cleared of charges because the accuser didn't want to appear in court, and that's probably bad. There's troubles with Shaq and Kobe, and there were disputes between Phil Jackson and Kobe. The Lakers did get to the NBA Finals, but were shocked by the Detroit Pistons. And Phil Jackson finally lost a title series. Jackson would leave 3 days after the 2004 Finals ended. Phil wanted to double his salary from $6 to $12 million. And a lot of people said that, with Kobe not being dealt from the Lakers, Phil Jackson got tired and all that. Well, anyway. Phil Jackson released a book about the 2004 Lakers team and was highly critical of Kobe. The Lakers became a faster-paced team on the court with no Phil or Shaq. In 2005, they only won 34 games. Rudy Tomjanovich, who was Jackson's successor, actually resigned midway through that season because of health problems. And in June 2005, the Lakers said, hey, let's give Phil Jackson another chance. So he does. So anyway, he helped the Lakers do well. But in the second round, they got a 3-1 series lead and choked it to the Suns. And that 2006 team was the first time Phil Jackson didn't get out of the first round of the playoffs. Phil would still be around for the Lakers and all that, helping them win the 2008 Western Conference by losing to the Celtics in the finals. But in 2009, he guided them to the title and got it, winning the 10th time. So he had won 3 with the Bulls. No, 6 with the Bulls. What am I thinking? 3 with the Lakers. Well, in his first go around, and then the second go around, he got his 10th title, beating the great Red Auerbach. Spoiler alert, he will be mentioned in a Birthday Boy, Red Auerbach. Jackson became the most successful coach in franchise history by wins in 2010, surpassing Pat Riley. Phil Jackson got the 2010 title over the Celtics, getting him his 5th with the Lakers and 11th as head coach. But he decided to make the 2011 season his last stand. It would be funny if he got another three-peat. Rumors were Phil Jackson was going to come back after Mike Brown got fired early in the 2013 season for the Lakers, but no, it didn't happen. It was Mike D'Antoni. Jackson was made president of the Knicks for signing a 5-year deal in 2014. Jackson fired the whole Knicks coaching staff. Well, when you're 37-45, you're terrible. So he hired Derek Fisher to be the head coach. I mean, the Knicks did win 5 titles under him. Well, it was huge and all that. His first big trade was getting rid of Ray Felton and Tyson Chandler to Dallas for some unknowns, except for Samuel Delaware. The Knicks took Giannis Antetokounmpo's brother, Phineas. Anyway, the Knicks would then set a franchise record by losing 16 straight games. And they actually only won 17 games in the 14-15 season. But thankfully for the Knicks, they had the 4th overall pick and took Kristaps Porzingis, which actually worked out well. And then the Knicks would trade Tim Hardaway Jr. in exchange for the 19th pick, which was Jerian Grant. Jackson would have problems. He wanted to buy out Carmelo Anthony, and he had strife with Porzingis. He looked pretty good and all that. As a head coach, he would win 1,155 games, regular season games, with 405 losses. So he had a 704 winning percentage in his career from 89 to 2011 as head coach. In the playoffs, he would be 229-104 with a 68% thing. That's not bad. Phil Jackson has 5 children and 8 grandchildren. He married his first wife in 1967, then divorced in 1972. He married his second wife in 1974, but divorced in 2000. He actually dated Jeannie Buss, who was the daughter of Jerry Buss, who was the Lakers owner. And they were engaged in 2013. Can you believe that he wanted to do that? Phil Jackson did have prostate cancer, but thankfully he was okay. So yeah. So Phil Jackson's the greatest coach in NBA history by championships. Sorry, Red Auerbach. It's just how it is. Anyway, I'm going to do.